Come on in. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The Imps are here to stay. Oh, 'tis our delight for the red and white. The Imps are here to stay.
Boom, how we all doing? Good morning. Second time I've heard that theme tune this morning because I did a big piece to camera after introducing about 30 seconds ago and hadn't gone live, so that was wasted time. Good morning to Kate Jackson, who's in Maastricht in the Netherlands. I always remember Maastricht. Was there a Maastricht Treaty? I didn't think there was. Not sure why. So, anyway, just a quick dog walk this morning, and I'll be honest. Normally, you're walking at the end of May, beginning of June, and it's nice, it's warm. I've got 3 layers on here. It's freezing this morning. Absolutely freezing. Not particularly impressed with it at all. Not a lot of news going around at the minute. I appreciate that. You've got to kind of, we talk about Forest. Congratulations to them, by the way. Obviously, it was the Champions League final on Saturday. So there's not a lot of Lincoln City stuff. There's a lot of other peripheral football stuff going on. And I don't try and be achingly cool when I say it doesn't massively bother me. But I think I just got so footballed out at one point, and the focus on Lincoln. I didn't watch the Champions League final. I haven't watched any of the playoff games. I did catch extra time of the Grimsby game. I was visiting my dad, but other than that, I have interest in it, but not to a point where I'm going to spend 90 minutes watching somebody else play football. But massive congratulations to Forest and to Brennan Johnson, and that could work in our favour. Johnson's performances for us were very, very good. He's gone back to Forest and he's obviously kicked on, and we could see the benefits of that this summer more perhaps than last summer, because clubs will say, well, not only did he go to Lincoln and do well, but he's come back and he's implemented that at his new club, so that could work out well for us. Obviously feel sorry for Harry Toffolo. I understood that we had an ongoing interest in him. Whether they were promoted or not, I don't know anything further about that at all, but it didn't really matter who won yesterday. Lincoln City fans kind of would have had some reason to be positive. Part of me dislikes Sunderland for the Andy Booth dive and for taking Dan and Nick, whether that was it wasn't their fault as such, but it still stung, didn't it? So I'm delighted for Forest. Got a lot of Forest supporting fans, but I'm not here to talk about Nottingham Forest. If I was, this wouldn't be called the Stacey West, would it? It'd be called the Brian Clough or whatever. So I'm here to talk about yesterday's transfer rumour that came through. Now, I don't normally put a lot of weight behind random rumours. So, for instance, last week somebody messaged me about one of our players and said, "Oh, our club's meant to be putting a bid in for him," but there's nothing official there. Funnily enough, it was actually Sunderland and it was Anthony Scully, but there's no news reports. It's on a message board. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go on a message board, can't they, and say, such and such, we're looking at this player or we're looking at that player. And I'm not going to talk about that sort of thing because you soon lose credibility. You do lose credibility at times. There's a bird in there making a right noise. You do lose credibility at times when you talk about Sun journalists. Personally, I think. But Alan Nixon is a relatively reputable journalist, and along, as I've said this in the past, with the likes of John Percy and Peter O'Rourke, I tend to believe that what they say has got some sort of basis in reality. So we were linked yesterday with Lee Burge. Unless you buy the Sun or pay into Nixon's Patreon, you won't be able to see that because he's put all his rumours behind a paywall. I would rather pay him £2 a month than buy the Sun, and so that's what I do. Hence finding out it was Lee Burge. It's an interesting one, and I know that there's a lot of Lincoln City fans out there think that we need our own experienced goalkeeper. So, and I buy into that. I understand why. I don't think it's as critical as people make out. I think, Josh Griffiths had a decent season, but we had like 30 odd different combinations or 20 odd different combinations of defence in front of our goalkeeper all season. And for me, that's where the problem lies. If you've got a settled back four, I think that you can get away with having a lone keeper. Alex Palmer had a decent season. He was a very good player for us. He made the odd mistake. Every keeper makes a mistake during the season, I think, and if they don't, you tend to sell them on anyway. So what's the point of having your own keeper who doesn't make a mistake who you have to sell? So I understand why people think that we need a solid, proven League One keeper, which, as everybody who listens to me regularly knows, is not something that that I think ever actually exists. I don't think there's such a thing as a proven player at any level. Chris Maguire, proven apparently at Sunderland and at Oxford, but for Bury and for us, not so. So, yeah, I'm not so sure. I think we'll have a little, before we go any further, I've got Jack Dodds on. Sunderland fan. So just to bring that up on screen, Sunderland fan here. I was on the preview pod for the 0-0 draw earlier in the season. I bet that was a thrilling experience with Jake, no doubt. Burge is an okay keeper at this level, a bit inconsistent, but does a job for a club without expectations of the top two. It depends what you're after, I think. If the aim is to be solid and possibly sneak into the top six, Burge is decent. I think that would be beyond most Lincoln fans' expectations next season. Sneak into the top six. When we did that, and obviously we played Sunderland in the playoffs, where Burge was the goalkeeper, remember? And I can't help but think of Brennan Johnson's goal, which was the whole mix-up, the pass-back kind of thing. But yeah, that we proceeded, we were above expectations. I think when you look at League One next season, yeah, I don't think there's a Lincoln City fan here who wouldn't take 12th right now if you said that's what you can have. So in that respect, Jack thinks that Lee Burge would be a solid signing. I can see the benefits of it. I mean, I remember him at Coventry, obviously when they got promoted out of League Two, and he is a consistent goalkeeper. And sometimes I do goalkeepers a bit of a disrespect because I kind of think they're to a penny, aren't they? It's like it's the one area of the field where you don't need to be that good with your feet. You know, if you're not that quick, if you can't pass, if you can't shoot, none of that matters. You just got to be able to stand there and jump around a bit. And I know goalkeepers will shoot me down for that. I think the one thing for me, the one thing that you need from a goalkeeper is the ability to organise and command your defence. I think any goalkeeper who makes it in a professional game can stop shots. If you can't stop shots, you ain't going to make it as a pro. Simple as that. Command of the area, yeah, is important, but if you've got big defenders who will nod it away every time, it's not absolutely critical, but you've got to be able to organise. You've got to be able to handle your defence. You've got to be able to kind of command other players, I think. And that's why I think some people look to experienced goalkeepers rather than younger goalkeepers and go, that's what we need. So I can understand that. And I would imagine Lee Burge is the sort of person who would command some respect from his professionals around him, because 29 years old, obviously been around regularly at this level. I'm not going to say proven. You know, it's the QI Claxon moment. I'm not going to say that, but he's been around at this level. You would think he understands what it takes. You know, he might be happy to take a bit of a knock from a centre forward, whereas maybe a younger keeper might be thrown off his stride if he gets that. What's that bloody vicious lump that plays up top for Oxford? I can't remember his name now. I think he was at one of Matty Taylor. I mean, he's a horrible piece of work. You'd love him if he played for you. But he's going to go in hard on a younger keeper and hopefully try and shake him. And you would imagine somebody like Burge may not suffer from that too much. But what it does, it kind of brings us round, doesn't it, to our current goalkeeping situation? Because I think if you asked people to rank the 11 positions on a pitch that we needed players for, from you know, most important to least important, goalkeeper would almost certainly, for most people, be in the bottom 2 or 3. You know, right back, possibly not. You look at Regan Paul, but goalkeeper, you think, well, we've got Jordan Wright, who did well at the end of last season, couple of howlers, but did relatively well at the end of last season. Big lad, commanded his area. You got Sam Long, rave reviews over at Drogheda. And I think Sam Long's the interesting one, if I'm honest. I think Sam Long is the great hope for Lincoln City long term. So he's over in Drogheda at the moment, and people kind of are thinking he's going to come back and stake a place for the first team. Now, if you look at the pathway for goalkeepers and loan moves, you think about Dean Henderson, for instance, at Man United. And I'm not saying, yeah, I know we're not at Man United level. I get that. But Dean Henderson went to Shrewsbury. Then he went to Sheffield United. Then he went on to Manchester United. Look at Alex Palmer, who I think had a couple of emergency loans in the non-league, and then he went to Plymouth, and then he went to us. Now he's knocking on the door at West Brom. You look at Josh Griffiths, Cheltenham, us, back to West Brom at the moment. Goalkeepers tend not to just have one loan spell and come back. Now, depending on the level that you put the League of Ireland at, Sam Long, or it may be felt that Sam Long needs to then come back and have another loan spell. Now, that would almost certainly have to be in League Two, for my money. Potentially the National League, but I think the League of Ireland, and I know people have kind of been a bit derogatory towards it when we were looking or allegedly looking at Stephen Bradley. But I don't think that the League of Ireland is National League level. I think it's better than that. And I think it would be harsh to say, right now, Sam Long can come back and he can go and play for, whoever's just York City or whatever. So, but I can see him coming back and having one more loan spell. Or I can see him coming back and actually being sold on. Scotland under 21 international, rave reviews over in Ireland. People are going to pay attention to that. And if he comes back and he's had that little growth spurt and he's gone from whatever he was, 6 foot to 6'1" or 6'2", then there's every potential, I think, for Sam Long to get a move. We're not going to go into the season with 3 goalkeepers at the club and not out on loan. We might own 3 goalkeepers, so we might go for Burge, who knows, and then have Jordan Wright and Sam Long. But one of those 2, Wright or Long, would then head out on loan. And there's every potential, I think, for that to be Sam Long again. I think with Jordan, you've got a player who we brought in to sit on the bench. That was proven when he was back up to Josh Griffiths before Josh got injured. Or do they want Sam to work under another experienced goalkeeper to further his development? Who knows? I can understand looking for a goalkeeper. I don't think it's a critical part of the squad overhaul. I don't think, it sounds really harsh, I don't think a goalkeeper is a critical part of any squad particularly. And it's easy to say that when I just understand that Courtois has been outstanding for Real Madrid. But if you're a goalkeeper in a Champions League final, I expect you to be making outstanding saves time after time. Do you know what I mean? And your contribution is very much stop shots, get the ball away, done and dusted. So, and I think, we're talking about Lee Burge now, but you could talk about 10, 15, 20 goalkeepers who are 27 to 32 that we could bring in and do a similar job. And that's not being disrespectful to Lee Burge. It really isn't. It's not being disrespectful, hopefully, to the position of goalkeeper, because to become a professional goalkeeper and to kind of, make it in a game, you have to be at a certain level. But I do think, while some goalkeepers are better than others, I get that, I do think it's the easiest position to fill. And I think we proved that with Alex Palmer, who I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think had a touch all pre-season in 2020-21. I seem to remember he came in about 3 days before we played Crewe in the Coca-Cola Cup or whatever it's called now. It's not the Coca-Cola Cup, is it? It's not 96 anymore. Carabao Cup. Didn't have a touch, came in, was outstanding. So, I know Josh Griffiths struggled at the beginning for a couple of games, but I do genuinely think that the goalkeeper position is probably one that fans and, you're not going to sign a goalkeeper and fans are going to go, we're going up juice and all that kind of memes and all that sort of stuff. Ain't going to happen. If you're a goalkeeper and you're watching this, I apologise, but it ain't. And funnily enough, on the Saturday night, I got a message from somebody saying, there's a story going out tomorrow. I think he follows Nixon on Twitter. I hadn't seen it, and he said there's a story going out, transfer rumour about Lincoln. I thought, finally something to get stuck into, and then I clicked on it and it was goalkeeper. And it sounds awful, doesn't it? I was kind of like, oh, really? Okay, well, it's a story, but there we go. The other thing to note about Burge, of course, is that he was out for much of last season with an unspecified heart complaint, I believe, which, there will be Lincoln City supporters out there who will go, another player who we're not sure is going to get so many games. So, interesting. The other point that I would add on top of that is last season we were linked with an experienced senior goalkeeper, Lawrence Vigouroux, I think, the Chilean lad from Orient, who had been on the books of Liverpool, and that never came to fruition. So you do wonder if sometimes are we linked with keepers for a particular reason? Does an agent put a story out there because they're trying to get Lee Burge moved to a League One club, and it goes to Nixon, Lincoln are sniffing around when Lincoln aren't sniffing around? And we've seen that recently with the managerial position, haven't we? The rumours came out about Michael Carrick, and in actual fact, it's my understanding that Michael Carrick and Lincoln City never spoke to each other, but it was put out there because it's put out there to facilitate something else. So I'm not saying that the Lee Burge rumours are not correct. I'm just saying that, of all the rumours that you wanted to hear, probably rumours about a goalkeeper when we've got 2 decent young goalkeepers probably not what you want to hear. What I would also add on top of that, though, is I'd be personally, and I was asked this question yesterday on Twitter, I didn't answer it, I had a busy day, internet was down and stuff like that, so my apologies if you asked, but somebody said, do you think we need another goalkeeper? I might be a little concerned if we went into a season where both of our goalkeepers were kind of youngish players without a string of performances behind them at this level. You know, I've no problem at all with Sam Long or Jordan Wright starting as our number one if things were to then go wrong. We had a 28, 29-year-old steady hand that you could just bring in just to calm the defence more than anything and calm the players around him more than, you know, what they can actually do on the field. And I think you saw that with West Brom to a degree, because West Brom obviously have Palmer and Griffiths, and you think that's really good. They've got Sam Johnson, but also kept David Marshall there as well, haven't they? And when Marshall was kind of the number two, and I think back to when we had Matt Gilks. Matt Gilks was the number two, and what goalkeeper he was. You know, he's really good shot stopper, really good at commanding his defence, really experienced pro. But, and another thing, wow, keep racking them up now. 29 years old, actually, for a goalkeeper is relatively young. I often think of goalkeepers' careers like dog years. They don't run the same. Do you know what I mean? So like people say, oh, like how old's your dog? Yeah, he's 7 or 49 in dog years, which is bollocks. He's 7. But they talk about dog years. Goalkeeper years are the same, aren't they? You know, how old is he? 29, but in goalkeeper years, it's probably about 22, 23. Think about Jordan Wright, who's like 23, 24, but goalkeeper years, he's still a little baby, isn't he? You know, 10, 12, 15 years' time, Jordan Wright could still be playing professional football, but there's not very many other 20, I think he's 23. Not many other 23-year-olds who 38 are still going to be playing professional football, but as a goalkeeper, you can do that. So I've got no worries about signing a goalkeeper who's 29 if that's the way we were to go. So that's it for today. You know, that's your Lincoln City Phil. There's not really much else happening at all. I know somebody had mentioned a little earlier on here, Harry Jackson. All I know about transfers with linked with Lee Burge and that Spanish CDM playing for Oxford United. I think that one's dead in the water. Alex Gorin or Alex Rodriguez. Now, let me tell you, if in the next 3 weeks Lincoln City announce Alex Rodriguez, or Alex Gorin, it's the same thing. He's Alex Gorin Rodriguez, I think. If we were to announce him as our new central defensive midfielder, I would be fucking ecstatic. And excuse my language, but I would. He's a player I remember coming from Motherwell to, I think it was Motherwell, to Oxford. I think he came around, they were trying to get Chris Cadden at the time, and I think Cadden went off to America so that Oxford then didn't have to pay compensation, and then the American team loaned him back to Oxford. It was really murky. I can't remember it specifically. But I remember Gorin signing for them then. And I remember I was writing for Football League World, I think, at the time, or somebody like that. And I remember week after week, he was top of things like tackling and distribution stats. He's the engine. For me, that's the most important signing we make this summer. Not specifically him, the engine. That's the most important position in a football team that plays the style that we play, is the battler in front of the back four, protecting the back four from being exposed, and thus anybody you have in the sticks, and just acting as that pivot all the time, getting the ball turning, looking, and then you're looking ahead at creative players, because if you put the ball in at the feet of creative players in the right positions, you make chances. And I still say players that we've got like Akiba Dalakan, criticize him all you want, people do. He's a decent player, and if you've got the right players creating the right positions and the space around him, I think he'll be a decent player. And you look at some of our attacking midfield options, I actually think Max Sanders in an advanced role, kind of in what's probably the 8 rather than the 4, CAM rather than CDM. Him and another player with a bit of flair next to him, like a Jack Payne style player, would do perfectly well for the club. And I think that would fit the way that we play. But you've got to have that CDM right. And you only have to look at Liam Bridcut. When Liam Bridcut was in the team last season, not the one that's just gone, the first full Mike Clapton season that ended in the playoffs, what happened? We were winning football games. When he got injured, what happened? We fell away. Last season, it wasn't quite as cut and dried because there was other problems around the club, but we were better with Liam Bridcut in the side than we were without. And as much as I would love him to be that player next season, I don't think you can ever rely on Liam Bridcut to play 30, 35 games a season now at this level. and that will hold him back. People are saying, you know, we're negotiating with him. I get that. But I do wonder what other clubs be willing to negotiate and say, well, we'll take a punt on Liam Bridcut when his injury record's been as it is. I'm not so sure. I think we're in a good bargaining position there. Love to see him stay around the club. We need to get that player in. Alex Gorin, if it was him, I'd be delighted. That'll be, now we know what's happening with Conor McGrandles officially. I'm pretty sure the club will have known for much longer than we have. But now we're aware of what's happening. I think that you'll find that will probably be that'll be the key position that we need to fill. So, a couple more comments before we disappear. I'll turn around and walk back with the dog. James Hoy, congratulations on your engagement, my friend. Would be a solid signing, at least then a keeper position settled. I'd be fine with us with another loan, or use what we have on the books as well, personally. All focused on a comfortable finish as cheaply as possible for me. Yeah, Joe, I'd be happy with another loan. I think had Josh Griffiths played out the end of the season rather than getting injured when he did, he would have been hard to ignore for at least top 3 and player of the season, because when you're not winning football games, it's easy to point at a goalkeeper and say, you know, he's not been brilliant. I don't think, aside from those first couple of matches, Josh massively let us down. I think Alex Palmer was the better goalkeeper for us. Maybe that came with him being a little bit older. I don't know. I felt that he was just a little bit more in command of what was in front of him, but it was more settled. We have a more settled defence 2021 than we did 21-22. So, you know, that certainly didn't help Josh. My dog's not coming back with me. That's not good news. So I don't mind loaning a player, to be honest. I really don't. Let's have a look. So Sam Hart is sat on the toilet at work. That's what I like to see. Clever way of kind of, you know, multitasking, getting paid to watch me. Well done, Rick Stevens. Morning, mate. You're right. Kate Jackson says the difference between Sam Long and Dean Henderson is that Sam Long isn't up his own arse, the constant troublemaker. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Cornell's already getting the song ready, apparently, for Lee Burge. Yeah, I'd seen that this morning. It's catchy. It's going to catch on. What about loans at Wrexham, getting games on the big gates? If he was going to non-league, next likely League Two loan, as you said. Yeah, you know, there are places where you could go. This is Sam Long. You could go out on loan and get matches with big gates, and Wrexham are one, Notts County or another, Chesterfield or another, you know, Grimsby if they don't come up or another. There are plenty of options for that. I get that. So Sam Hart says, what about signing Ruben Rodriguez from Notts? Well, we were certainly interested in him, weren't we, over the summer, or reported to be. That came from reputable sources. I think Rodriguez is just the sort of person that we would like to sign. And you've got to think, you know, League One to National League, National League to League One. We are an attraction. We are a big draw for a National League player. So it's hard, even though Notts County, dare I say it and shoot me down, arguably a bigger club. You know, they've played top flight football. They've got bigger ground. They probably would average more fans than we do, were they in our division. So arguably a bigger club. But when you've then, you know, when you've been bested by Solihull Moors, or you've got games against, I know they've been relegated, but Kings Lynn and Dover, it's not as easy for a player, certainly not one who's 25, I think, as Rodriguez is, to turn and move to us down. You know, this summer for him is a big one. If he's going to the Football League, it's going to be this summer, because if he sticks around and he has 6 months where he doesn't perform or he picks up an injury, you soon see that opportunity slide. And you know, the same goes really for players for us. You know what I mean? You look at the likes of Anthony Scully and you think, you know, if somebody comes in for him, it's, you know, it would be the right time, and you've got to test yourself at that higher level. I don't begrudge any player doing that. You only have to look at Toff, I think. The tractor coming. You only have to look at Harry Toffolo to understand, you know, what players need to do in order to test themselves. So I think Ruben Rodriguez will be potentially looking for that move now that County are no longer in the hunt. Yeah, it'd be a decent signing. So look, right, that's all for this morning. Thank you very much for watching. We peaked at about 55 people there. Still can't believe 55 people have got time on a Monday morning to watch me rabbit on about Lincoln, but I'm just trying to keep the content off, if I'm honest, because this is always a quiet time, and you know, we're all still Lincoln fans, and I understand 100% that not every, you know, some of you are like me, some of you won't be bothered about the Champions League or can't watch 90 minutes of somebody else because, you know, you're Lincoln fans. I get that. So I'm just trying to keep things going a little bit. One last question from Sam. Any true reports on George coming back? I wish I knew. There would be a signing of intent, but I would imagine the fee involved in that would probably make it not entirely possible, unless Peterborough were willing to take a kind of a future interest in the club. Wouldn't surprise me if we didn't see George Grant moving down south somewhere. I mean, I think he's from Banbury. Oxford type move might work. Obviously, our friends at Portsmouth are going to be interested in him, aren't they? They're going to know the player relatively well. So, you know, I'd love to see, you know, we say it all the time. I'd love to see Grant and Tyler Walker back here. And I think that, you know, both Tyler Walker I can see leaving Coventry this summer, but that would be another cash sale, and we're not in a position where we're going to be paying £400,000-500,000 for a player. It's not going to happen, and in my opinion, and Portsmouth, you know, it is likely to happen for them. They are like to pay players like they did for Joe Morrell. They are likely to be looking at buying players in. So, wouldn't surprise me to see. Certainly, Walker won't go, I don't think, to Portsmouth, but it wouldn't surprise me to see George Grant go there. Wouldn't surprise me entirely to see Tyler Walker come to us. Not entirely. Whether that would be on a, you know, a loan, because if Coventry aren't going to play him, and I've brought Tyler Walker into this, but if Coventry aren't going to play him, then they're going to want to move him on. And at the moment, his stock won't be as high because he's gone to Portsmouth. He's kind of flopped. You know, a top-end League One club possibly not going to look at him. Bristol Rovers are one that I've seen kind of saying, "Oh, we might be interested." Yeah, but are they going? Would they maybe say to a Lincoln City, "Well, we'll loan you to him him to you for the season," thinking if he comes to us and scores 20 goals, which he's proven he can do in League One, by the way. I mean, he didn't hit 20 for us, but he only played till January. So if he comes to us and scores a shed load of goals, potentially they could sell him on. I mean, he'd be out of contract, I suppose, wouldn't he? That kind of negates that. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, aren't I? That's why the viewers have dropped down to 30ish. So thank you very much for your time. I'm going to go back and do some work. My boss was watching a minute ago, so I hope he's having a good day. Not bum looking, genuinely hope he is. And I'll see you all again soon. Take care, bye.